Welcome to the series of Nakshebazi. Today in this series, we will cover a very important topic in the context of Indian history. Yes, the topic is the history of Marathas. Now, whenever we hear the history of Marathas, few topics come to our mind. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, the forts, the Peshwas, the various battles, the Battle of Panipat. But what about the origin of this Marathas? How the origin took place, how the small clans grew into a huge empire. So, we will cover the whole topic into very depth. Now, let us go on to the background. So, what are the first evidence of Marathas or Marathi speaking people? Now, if we go back to the 13th century, the Bhakti movement, we see that one of the very first or the earliest literatures of Marathi, that is Gnaneshwari. Gnaneshwari written by Saint Gnaneshwar. So yes, during the Bhakti movement, this literature took a very important place. Now, you also have evidences that yes, some of the dynasties that had Marathi elements in that, the Marathi culture in that. Yes, if you go back to the Yadav dynasty in the 13th century, in the Deccan, they were ruling in the central India. So, Digambar Balakrishna Mokashi, a very well-known author, he notes that the Yadava dynasty seems to be the first true Maratha empire. Yes, we cannot say in very firmly that they were one of the Maratha empire, but yes, they seem to be Maratha empire in a way, promotion of the Marathi culture, promotion of Marathi elements in that, and that is the start of the Marathas as well. So now if you come to the Maratha clan that were prominent in the Maratha empire, so what was the background? That is very important to know. Now there were various Maratha clans who at the very earliest stage were tillers. They were agricultural people. Yes, if you consider the Bhosales, if you consider the Ghorpades, the Digambars, so they were tillers, they were agricultural people, and that is how after the agricultural got developed, they took various roles in administration, in the military aspect. So during the 16th century, now let us consider the 16th century India, because it is very important from the perspective of the rise of Maratha empire later on. Now if you consider the 16th century India, you see that the Bahmani empire, yes, the Bahmani empire which was ruling in the central part of India, that got disintegrated, and that got disintegrated into smaller sultanates, that is the Berar, the Ahmednagar Sultanate, that was ruled by the Nizam Shahi dynasty, the Bijapur, the Bidar, the Golconda. So these 5 sultanates that came out of the Bahmani Sultanate. Then you also had a Vijayanagar Empire in the south. So 16th century India, these were the dynasties that were ruling India during the 16th century. Also, you have in 1526, the Battle of Panipat. Yes, Babur and Ibrahim Lodi, in which Babur is successful in defeating Ibrahim Lodi, and this is how the Mughals now starts to get into the Indian soil. And in the 16th century, if you look at the Battle of Talikota that happens in 1565, the alliance of the sultanates, they defeat the Vijayanagar Empire, and this is how the dominance of the Sultanate, the central Sultanate, starts taking over the Deccan area. Now this is also the time that everyone wants to show their dominance. So there is a conflict every time between the Ahmednagar Sultanate and the Bijapur Sultanate. So we see during the 16th century, there is a conflict that is all time going on between this sultanates, because the more the land, the more will be the economy. This was the concept during that time. Now, this is the background of in the 16th century. Now come to the various clans. We had various warrior clans of Marathas that became prominent in this sultanates, in the Ahmednagar Sultanate, in the Bijapur Sultanate. One of the very important clan was the Bhosale clan, which was a lineage of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So now, if you consider the background of the Bhosales, the Babaji Bhosale. So Babaji Bhosale earlier, after growth in the agriculture, he became the village headman. He became the Patil. Yes, the Patils, the Kulkarnis, the Deshpande. These are various titles that are given to some of the authoritative figures in the administration. Patil, he is the village headman. You have Kulkarnis also. You have Kulkarnis, the one who keeps the record. You also have Deshpandes. Now, Babaji Bhosale, he was the village headman. In a village known as Hinjni near Pune. Now, his son Maloji Bhosale, he became first a horseman in the service of the Jadhavs of Sindhkhed Raja. Yes, so here you see the Sindhkhed Raja. So the Jadhavs, who were also one of the Maratha clans, they were the Jagirdars of the Ahmednagar Sultanate. Yes, very important. Now you see that the roles which were of only agricultural importance at the start, now these roles of the Maratha clans, of various Maratha clans, even if you consider the Jadhavs, the Nimbalkars, the Bhosales, now they are finding some military roles in the Sultanates. So we see that Maloji Bhosale, he is now the horseman of the Jadhavs of Sindhkhed Raja. Now, after his services, he in the Jadhavs, towards the Jadhav, he also now joins the service of the Ahmednagar Sultanate, and seeing his brilliance work, seeing his bravery, he is awarded Jagir of Pune and Supe Paragana. Also, he is given the control of the Shivneri Fort and Chakan Fort. It is very close to Pune. Chakan Fort. Now, this is the same Shivneri Fort where you see it was the birthplace of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Yes. Now, you see that after the village headman, now his son Maloji is now into the military services. This is how the roles of the Marathas are changing, right from tillers to village headmen to now the Jagirs. Now he is having Jagirs of Pune and Supe Paragana. Now comes to the son of Maloji, that is Shahaji Bhosale. Now when we consider Shahaji Bhosale, at the very earliest age, he had to serve as the commander of the Ahmednagar Sultanate. So at the very earliest age, he became the commander of the Ahmednagar Sultanate. Now, but you see the time period 1594 to 1664. Now, this is also the time that the Mughals at the central, they are eyeing a territorial expansion in the south, in the Deccan area. Various governors are sent. There are various skirmishes that appear. Now, you also see a shift of Shahaji Bhosale from one dynasty, that is from the Sultanate military service to Ahmednagar Sultanate, to Bijapur Sultanate. So the shifting of alliance of Shahaji continues during this time. Now, there is also a time where he shifts his alliance or where he works for the Mughals. Now, during this time, he increases his area, that is the Jagir which he was controlling, Sangamner and Rajori. Now he adds to the Jagirs of his own. So, and one time is such that to control Shahaji, there is an alliance, there is a treaty between the Bijapur and the Ahmednagar Sultanate. So this is how the aura, the persona of Shahaji Bhosle was. There was a fear among the Ahmednagar Sultanate as well. To keep Mr. Shahaji Bhosle away from the area of Ahmednagar as well as Bijapur Sultanate, they signed a treaty among themselves. Yes, so this is the Bijapur area, and now Shahaji married Jijabai, the daughter of the Jadavs of Sindhkhed Raja, and she is also the mother of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Now, after Shahaji Bhosle, the main persona which is very important from the Indian history point of view, from the Maratha history point of view, is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Yes, if you see the map in which Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had the control, you see that right from the very western part of Maharashtra to central part of Maharashtra, right till the south, the Tanjore part, it was also under the control of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. But how did this happen? So, having the vision of Hindvi Swarajya, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj started at the very earliest age with the Mawal, in the Mawal areas, with the Mawalas. With the Mawalas, he started the campaign. The first campaign was the Torana Fort. The Torana Fort, and second was the Kondana Fort. So it's at the very earliest age of 16 and 18, he happened to take the control of the Torana Fort and Kondana Fort from the Bijapur dynasty. This is the time when the Bijapur had a lot of control in the Deccan part, in the Pune region. Now, Torana Fort and Kondana Fort were taken from the Bijapur. Now, at this time, Bijapur becomes very cautious about the movements that is happening from the side of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Yes, this is the same Kondana Fort, which is also known as Sinhagad after Tanaji Malusure. Yes, recently there was also a movie on Tanaji Malusure. So, but the fight was in 1670. So here, in 1647 only, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was able to gain these forts from the Bijapur. So to control the growing influence of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Bijapur plans an attack on Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And how do they plan? By sending the Sardar of Bijapur, that is Afzal Khan, to the Pratapgarh. Yes. So both the army comes in front of us, and now Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and Afzal Khan decides to meet in a separate meeting. And this is when, realizing that Afzal Khan, the Sardar of Bijapur, had planned a treachery, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj happens to kill Afzal Khan. And yes, the Pratapgarh is also now under the control of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Yes, now you see that after taking control of Pratapgarh, the Marathas are now aiming to move towards south. You see here the Panhalgarh, here the Sinhagad, that is the Kondana Fort. You have here the Raigad. So here the Daulatabad area of the Yadavas. So now they are eyeing an expansion in the south. So now, Panhala Fort and Siddhi Johar in 1660. Now, this is the time Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is at Panhal Fort, and now there is an unexpected attack from the Bijapur side, and considering the army, the strength of the army, it was very eminent that they find a different route to Vishalgarh, and this is when Baji Prabhu Deshpande, he valiantly fights against the Bijapur army and controls them so that the whole Maratha family escapes from the other route. And this was the Battle of Pawankhand, where the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj now goes to Vishalgarh. Now the Treaty of Purandar 1665. Yes, now in response to the attack on Shahista Khan, the uncle of Aurangzeb, and the city of Surat, Mughals sent a very large army to fight against the army of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj at Pratapgarh. And now they sign a treaty. According to which Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had to give certain amount of forts to the Mughals, and this is when the Mughals find a space to grow in the Deccan area. Yes, and according to that treaty, it is also required that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj do visit the Mughal court in the north, that is in Agra. So yes, after the so this is the treaty that was signed between both. Now, according to the treaty, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj do visits Agra, but here he is required, he is asked by the Mughals to go to Kabul for the expansion of Mughal empire in the northwest side. So this was something that was demanded by the Mughals, but this was declined by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and he was also disrespected in the court, and that is why he goes out of the court, and so he is now jailed in the court of Agra, and now he plans escapes from Agra. So this is a very interesting story about how he plans the escape. One of the stories says that he escapes in a box of oranges. Then he comes back to home, and after that Mughal also realizes the presence of Shivaji in the Deccan area and grants him some kind of Jagir, but Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he is not satisfied, not happy with the treatment of the Mughal, and that is when he realized the idea of Hindvi Swaraj, that is self-rule, and then is the time of coronation. And so before coronation there are very debates about that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj do not come from a Kshatriya Varna, and so he cannot be coronated, and that is when Gaga Bhatt, priest from Varanasi, finds that the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had a lineage, this Marathas had a lineage from the Sisodia Rajputs, who were the Kshatriyas, and so on the basis of this evidence, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is coronated, and to give a firmness to this, again he is second time also coronated. So this is when the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj becomes the Maratha Empire, the Maratha king. Now after becoming the king, he starts expansion of the Maratha Empire in the north as well as in the south. Now here comes the part. Shahaji, from his second wife, had a son known as Ekoji, and he was in the military services of Bijapur, and that is when the southern part of the Bijapur Empire in the Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu, in today's Tamil Nadu, was the place where Ekuji had established his own empire over there. That was the southern Maratha kingdom over there, Tanjavur Maratha kingdom. Now, when Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj wanted to expand the Maratha empire in the south, so this was also the area where it was targeted, and that is when the skirmishes between Venkoji and Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj appears. After winning the battle, Venkoji recognizes Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj as the empire and accepts the paramountcy of the Maratha Empire. The Maratha Empire. And yes, the Tanjavur kingdom now comes and becomes the part of the Maratha Empire. So, yes, Tanjavur you see over here, Tanjavur part. The Tanjavur part in Tamil Nadu. This is the Tanjavur kingdom. You see Tanjavur, you see Pune, Rajgiri, Satapur. So all these places, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had a great influence, and this continued till the death of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And yes, the growth of the Maratha Empire did not stop here. It went on increasing, and even in the 18th century, the Maratha Empire, you see, it was controlling major part of the Indian subcontinent, and that we will be seeing in the next lecture of the Nakshebazi series. Till that time, enjoy and thank you.